Checking off the boxes.
Established, reputable.
Today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
All right, coming to you live. Well, my guest is coming to you live from Mexico. I'm not. James Guzman, my weekly guest where we talk about the Americas. He's an American-born writer, insurance broker specializing in non-conventional markets and countries, founder of the Borderless blog and podcast at borderlessblog.com. You can find them also at jamesguzman.com on Twitter and everywhere. And if you need health insurance as an expat, you can get a free chat with him over at borderlesshealthinsurance.com. ¿Cómo estás, James?
Hrvoje, what's going on, man? How you doing? Still over there in Croatia?
Yes, I'm still here in the Mexico.
You staying over there? What are you doing?
I don't know. I love living life where I've got no idea what's going on the road ahead. And so for the time of being, I'm here. So we'll see how things go.
Nice.
You miss me or
I'm sure
what?
Your family enjoys that. Yeah, I know. I'm looking around. I don't see you around. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's nice being here. There's a lot of tourists in Croatia, and it's funny. Today I met with we can talk about that. One of my Geopolitics and Empire and Hrvoje Morić show listeners, an American. I met with him, had lunch today. Later in the week, I'm meeting one of my former podcast guests. So it's really interesting, being out here. It's pretty cool getting to meet all of these people.
I saw you had Kim Iverson. That's pretty good. I like her a lot.
Yeah, she's doing good work. She covered my deplatforming back in the spring. And so then I was lucky. I asked her to come on. She was also on the Gray Zone as well with Max Blumenthal. So yeah, she's good integrity. She quit the Hill because she was supposed to interview Fauci. They wouldn't let her. So yeah, that shows a lot of integrity to do something like that. No?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people that are on mainstream news and stuff, people always say, well, they're not left and right, but I mean, obviously they're like propagandists, but I find that Kim Iverson actually is pretty neutral, and she does a lot of good kind of before she goes and gives her opinion. She researches what she's talking about, and anyway, I find her to be pretty objective.
Yeah, and since I mentioned I was hanging out with one of my listeners, I guess one of the themes chatting with the person was. They were fleeing COVID-19 84, and they've decided to leave the U.S. and they were in Europe, in Croatia. And then they went to Latin America, South America, of course. And I guess one of the things that came up was, and it's related to. I wanted to share this story. I was kind of shocked, but not shocked. Today, I saw the story in Guadalajara. Right, that's my other home. There was a narco blockade. So this happens every few years, but basically the cartels, it's like a scene from a Batman movie where the cartels around the city, I guess it wasn't as bad as the previous time, but they stopped a bunch of public buses. They burned them. I don't think anyone died or was hurt this time, but just the fact that they're shutting. It's like a scene from Batman where they're terrorizing the city and burning public buses. And this listener said, South America is nice, but this is a real issue. I mean, he said where he was in South America, looking at property, even the real estate agents were talking about, if your property gets robbed, this is the best way to there's only one entrance or exit, and it's like the fact that the real estate agents, it's so normal thinking about, getting robbed. But
well, again, you should think about security. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think people should be thinking about their security wherever they are. Yeah,
but I mean, just for me to read again in Guadalajara that, I mean, it's worse than, let's say, in certain other parts of Europe or other parts of the world. But again, every destination has its pluses and minuses, and each individual, it's a very personal thing, has to weigh all of the different variables and for themselves decide. There's no cookie cutter answer. There's no answer for, just go here and, here's ready to go, plan B. It's really depends on each person. Yes. I don't know if you got any.
Yeah. So since you mentioned it, I mean, that's definitely the top news in Mexico at the moment. So it started last night. There was actually two cartel groups that met. One of them was the Nuevo Generación, and there was a pretty big guy within the organization that was there, a top guy, and the government, Defense Department, got a hold of this, and so they went and they showed up and they arrested the guy. And this has kind of been one of the tactics that the cartel's been using sometimes, is when some top guy gets arrested, kind of like they did in Culiacan when they arrested Chapo's son, that they just cause a bunch of chaos and hope that the government lets him go. And so now this seems to be a tactic. And so, yeah, it wasn't just in Guadalajara. I mean, it was all throughout Jalisco and also Guanajuato, the state I'm in, although where I live was not affected at all. In many places like Celaya, Irapuato, they did a lot. They actually burned what's been reported as 25 separate Oxxos. So if people don't know, that Oxxo is kind of like a 7-Eleven corner store type thing. And they took a bunch of cars, just set them on fire and public buses on the highway. It's just kind of a thing like intimidation. Nobody did get hurt or killed or anything like that. But yeah, so in response to that, the government has dispatched 750 soldiers, from the military down to Jalisco and in that area to try to beef up security. So it's kind of an ongoing thing. I mean, that just started last night, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, it's strange when, a lot of people are doing this. Like I said, I meet my listeners in different parts of the world, in Mexico and now in Croatia. It's pretty crazy. Some of my guests. I mean, it's really fun. I feel privileged in that sense. For sure. To hang out and meet with so many interesting cool people. But yeah, and I was going to say, and so when I was in Mexico, the last 2 years I've been saying, yeah, it's a great place. It is a great place to come. Don't get me wrong. Especially when you're there, it grows on you. But I didn't know what to expect. And then when I came to Croatia, like I said, it's kind of like it's like the Mexico of the United States of Europe, Croatia or the Balkans. And it has a lot of similar advantages as places like Mexico. Is very low population density, very rural, but it's safe, it's clean. There's a lot of water and the basic good resources. And so I think also Croatia and places like that are good places to escape the great reset and any future COVID.
Well, the problem with the Europe in general is I think is the energy, the energy prices. I don't know how those are affecting you. I don't know if you're sensitive to that at all, but I mean, I think that's the big problem, especially in the European Union, is the energy crisis, which can just affect everything.
Yeah, this is definitely an issue. I mean, it's summertime now. I did pay a water bill here, and it hadn't been as bad. I think it was like, still, I pay like $10 in Mexico a month, and here it was like, it was less than that. It was like, what, I'd say 50. Well, it was like $60. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, there is a difference, but it could increase at a moment's notice. Tomorrow, as you said, depending on the crisis they throw at us, you could end up paying hundreds of bucks for water or electricity or heating. So yeah, like there are plus and minuses again. But here I feel so safe. Like my situational awareness is off. Well, it's never completely off, but it's just not like it is in Mexico. So again, pluses and minuses. It's more expensive, safer. Anyways, and it's going to get colder. It's not going to be as warm all year round like it is in Mexico versus here the winter gets cold for a few months. Another issue. I sent this story to you some days ago, but I thought it was funny, just indicative of where things are going. The pirate tortillas. I don't think we talked about that last week, but
no.
No. Yeah, now things are getting so bad. It's like the number one staple food of Mexicans everywhere, the tortillas. And I mean, they're usually not that expensive. You get like a whole bunch for cheap. And it's the thing, I guess, so things are so bad that now they're pirating tortillas. They're not using like 100% of the proper corn. And I mean, things got to be getting bad if you got to pirate tortillas, no?
Yeah, I think I was telling you I don't know who they can pull that one on. I know they can't pull it on my wife or any, a lot of the Mexicans I know, they'll know the difference between a fake tortilla and a real tortilla. So I don't know how much that's going to actually work. But yeah, so usually like a kilo of tortillas is, 21 pesos, so like $1, and that's for a whole kilo of them. But another thing that's kind of similar to that, I ran across and that was that they're actually reporting that many people, because of the inflation, which has been reported at a little bit over 8%, is what this year is going to be if it continues to go as it has been. And because of that, a lot of the stuff that has been going up has been meat. And so there are people that saying for necessity, they're going to become vegetarians. And that some of the things that have gone most up in price have been eggs and meat and things like that. And then, they say, it's healthy for me. It's healthier for me anyways. And so they're just going to go vegetarian. And so, that kind of shows where things are going in the world, I think.
Don't get me wrong. I'm totally pro meat. But I do have to say my first weeks here in Croatia, I got into some minor health issues because I was just, eating all the food that I missed, the lamb, the pork, and a lot of wheat, breaded things that are common here. Because in Mexico, you just eat like tortillas. There's no good bread in Mexico, which you miss as a European.
Oh, we had great bread where I live.
Well, I guess it depends on the bakery, but I had to switch my diet back for a while, away from meat and more vegetarian, and immediately, the health issues disappeared. I was talking about that yesterday with a guest, and an interesting story I came across from El Economista was on Mexico and Brazil shining. The stock exchanges of Mexico and Brazil sort of shining, basically. And if you look at the article, you see the chart, and it shows, Germany's at the bottom, minus 22% decline in the German stock market, NASDAQ minus 21%, London minus 14%, the New York Stock Exchange minus 2%, and Mexico is plus 6.77%. And this reminded me of the 2008 global financial crisis. And at that time, Mexico's stock exchange had done the least worse. All the other stock exchanges dropped dramatically, and Mexico's also did drop, but it was the one that dropped the least worse. And I thought, that's pretty good. Also, sign that I don't know what you think of its resilience, maybe.
It's hard to say. All economies have so many variables that you really can't say what's going to happen in the future. But Mexico does have a lot of room for growth. Specifically, it was always for the last decade or so, it's always been Mexico, Brazil, and Chile are kind of the big players in the up and coming countries in Latin America. Just demographics, meaning like the age of people in Mexico, and they have children, and there's a lot of people that have skills and actually work and stuff like that, and so the manufacturing here, and so the as far as the fiscal and monetary situation over through COVID, they haven't gone crazy with all the government spending. Believe it or not, which is one thing that's kind of interesting because, AMLO is a self-proclaimed leftist, but he did not do a bunch of spending. And they have interest rates at 7%. They put them up as they need to, so they have responsible interest rates, although, compared to like the United States, they have no choice. But still, it's a relatively sane kind of monetary and fiscal policy. And although, they have had some inflation, but I think that's kind of worldwide because of different issues. So there's a lot to be said about the future of Mexico. But, as we mentioned in the beginning, as far as I think the biggest wild card or the biggest thing that would be negative is the security situation. If that continues and gets too out of control, then, that's just a bad thing overall for the economy. Obviously, you have, people that will, companies that will just pull out. They're saying, I'm not going to deal with this stuff if they don't know if their trucks are going to get robbed or if their businesses are going to get burnt or the highway is going to get blocked or if they're going to get kidnapped or whatever kinds of stuff. That's, if that's the kind of stuff that is going to be increasing and happening, that can just screw up the entire economy. So, yeah, I think it's a lot of things, like I said, a lot of variables. So, but I think there's a lot of opportunity that could come about in Mexico of the economy overall.
Yeah, the stock market is only one indicator of others, and I what you just mentioned, I saw in an article somewhere just earlier, also discussing the security situation and businesses. If they lose faith, they will pull out and not invest. So another a positive sign I was just reading, I'm kind of surprised at this. It says that beach destinations in Mexico see summer tourist numbers exceed those of 2019. Cancun, Los Cabos, Puerto Vallarta saw big increases in visitors arriving by air. So passenger numbers again exceeded levels in July from 2019. I guess it says providing more evidence that the tourism sector has recovered from the World Economic Forum induced pandemic downturn, and the data from the airport operators show that passenger numbers were significantly higher. I did read, like in Guadalajara, the airport numbers were, in terms of passengers passing through, I don't know if it was a record, but super high. So I guess there's movement. A lot of people going to Mexico. I think especially being locked down, people they need to go out, get out and about. I see that here in Croatia. Just the streets are filled with people. In the evening here, the traffic is nuts. Like the traffic is nuts. I mean, it's packed. And so, your thoughts on this?
I mean, I definitely see that. I see a lot of people coming down, different types of people, and where here in San Miguel, it's mostly, I would say, national tourism still. I mean, there are some international, but it's not like Cancun or something where these numbers came out of. And so, they were at, let's see, 10.6 million tourists have come to Mexico so far this year, according to the official numbers. And that's actually 20% higher than this month in 2019. I'm sorry, 1.5% higher in 2019. But what I thought was interesting was that it seems that Americans or people from the United States are coming down here at a higher amount than they were in the past as far as international tourism. It's actually 20% higher the amount of Americans, the U.S. citizens that are coming down to Mexico as opposed to 2019. So for some reason, I guess they probably are coming here instead of, say, Europe or something like that. They're just finding it easier to come to Mexico. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's becoming a more popular place for U.S. Although it already was extremely popular, but now it's even more so.
Speaking of coming and going and travel, I just found this story. This is from today from Colombia. And it says Colombia to let citizens use digital ID for contactless cross-border travel in South America. So residents will soon be able to use an updated version of their digital national identity card known as La Cédula Digital Colombiana, stored on their Apple or Android smartphone. So they'll be able to use this digital ID as a passport when traveling to 8 other South American countries: Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Ecuador, Paraguay, Peru, and Uruguay. So this is very interesting. It's that Great Reset agenda where now we're morphing into these digital passports, which now can be used simply to travel within the region. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that, especially Colombia, they're trying to really get onto the technology bandwagon. They're also they enlisted some of the people that work at Ripple, which is one of the cryptocurrencies, to put their land deeds throughout the country on the blockchain, and so they're going to be recording them on blockchain. I mean, that's I think it's predictable, but yeah, I mean, it could have some definite, type of things that you're talking about with Great Reset type of, tracking and stuff like that. But I think it's kind of inevitable that different national governments are going to get on board with this technology and try to implement it with their, their economies and their immigration systems. So, I think that's the direction, especially places like Colombia are going to go.
And on that note as well, yesterday it was reported Mercado Libre. We've mentioned that before. That's like the eBay of Latin America. It works well. I think I've never. I don't think I've ever purchased. Maybe once something on it. It functions just like eBay or Amazon. Just more like eBay, buy and sell used goods as well as new goods. They're going to expand crypto trading across Latin America. It says that it's the Latin America's largest e-commerce company by market value, and it plans to expand its crypto trading feature across the region after a successful start in Brazil. So in December, users of Mercado Libre's digital wallet were allowed to buy and sell Bitcoin, Ether, and stablecoin in Brazil after an integration with a blockchain infrastructure. And I was listening yesterday. Apparently, the IRS, or not the IRS, the House and the Senate in the U.S. are preparing a new bill where they are going to allow Americans to spend Bitcoin or to make a purchase in Bitcoin. There are two versions of the bill. One said up to $50. The other was up to $200. So they were saying you'll be able to make a purchase of Bitcoin up to $200 without reporting or any of that. So you could just buy something for up to $200 in Bitcoin, because now technically this is why I haven't bought anything in Bitcoin, because supposedly, I mean, I like to follow the rules. So if you buy something in Bitcoin as an American, buy a book for $10. Well, you have to keep record of the transaction when you bought Bitcoin, how much it increased by when you bought it, and then it's a taxable transaction. It's just it's nuts. And even I use like good tax people, and even for everyone, it's completely insane, this stuff. And so, but I don't know if you've among the people you hang out with in Mexico, if there's been chatter of crypto or Bitcoin or it being normalized. Like, if I just recall the people that I know in Guadalajara in Mexico, it's like almost no one, very few that I know that really deal in crypto. I don't know, maybe things are changing. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that, Guadalajara, Mexico City are probably the top two cities that, as far as crypto goes. And yeah, it's normally not a whole lot of people. I mean, that's one of the kind of disagreements that I get with people that are really bullish. I just think that they overestimate how many people are actually not just buying it, but even more like actually using it. That's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to use it as a currency. How many people out of the population are actually using Bitcoin to buy and sell things on a day-to-day basis? Very, very small amount of people. I mean, there are different people that are working within it. I think we reported a couple of weeks ago that they had a Bitcoin ATM that's going in Cancun and Guadalajara and I believe Mexico City. So, there are some things coming down, but there's also I don't know what Senate or whatever it is that she's in here in Mexico, but she is at the national level. There's a female politician who is very vocal about trying to get Bitcoin used as accepted as a national currency. So there are people in the government here in Mexico as well trying to push that, as well as Ricardo Salinas, and he's the son of what's that?
Hugo Salinas Price, yeah.
Well, yeah, his son is Ricardo, and So Hugo Sinus Price is really into gold. He's a big gold bug. He's a multi-billionaire who owns a bank and a department store here in Mexico. And his son is also a multi-billionaire worth over $10 billion reportedly. And he is really into Bitcoin. And he's trying to pump it in Mexico. He's really into free market stuff. And he's a really interesting guy, Austrian economics and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, there are people that are influential that are, trying to push it. So we'll just see how long it takes, or if actually, I just have a hard time seeing just like your standard, Mexican, like taco stand or somebody at a tienda buying and selling Bitcoin with their cell phone. It's a cash economy. It's a cash culture. So I think it's going to take a while to catch on that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was just visualizing that scene you just mentioned, just going out to buy tacos to the local, the little supermarket. It's just, I don't see anyone doing that sort of thing. Although, who was just the guy that I hung out with today? He was telling me, I forget which country, but there was some place that he went where you could not use, I think it was even in the US, that you couldn't use cash. Some stores in Florida or some states, you totally could not use. He went to like a ball game somewhere in the U.S. and in the stadium, you could not use cash for anything, even like the hats. They were for a hot dog, nothing. No one would accept cash. And then he was telling me some restaurants that he used to visit that have been around for decades. That they don't accept cash anymore. Like literally, it's a new policy. No more cash. It's nuts.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how they have to get it to work, right? Is they have to just basically make cash illegal or unusable for people to actually, go 100% into the digital thing, or the same thing with the digital IDs. Just try to somehow make people not want to use it because it's inaccurate or it's dirty and has germs on it, or, COVID or whatever. And that's how they'll get people to stop using physical things and go just 100% into the digital.
Hey, but wait a minute. Don't they also say that cell phones are one of the dirtiest things that got so many germs and everything on it?
Probably.
So it's like, well, no, sorry. Then they're going to say, oh, no, I shot myself in the foot there. They're going to say, yeah, you're right. That's why we need to give you the implants. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
The chip implants. So,
yeah. So, I did want to talk about something that we, before we talked about Peter Schiff and Euro Pacific Bank, the controversy over that. I don't know if you saw this, but
I saw it just before we connected. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he did put out a statement and they've come to it. So he has been found not guilty of everything. So they said that he was helping people launder money. He was accused by the Australian 60 Minutes and then the tax agencies of many different countries came and they have their own joint group that they were coming after him. Well, it was just like he said, they had no charges. Then they were saying that he didn't have enough money to back up the deposits. Well, he doesn't give out loans, so that was ridiculous. And so he said, look, we've got more than enough. And they said, okay, it's true. And so that's it. And so he's off the hook. But his name and the name of the bank has been so put through the mud that he can't sell it. He can't do anything with the bank, and he doesn't really want to deal with it anymore. So he has to liquidate the bank and just give everybody their money back, and basically all the time and money, which he said is he's spent over $10 million invested in the bank, is just going to lose it for no reason. I mean, I think that this is, you should definitely, if Alex Jones supposedly has to pay millions of dollars for saying what they say is, false things, then, Peter should be able to sue 60 Minutes and the Internal Revenue Service and all these different people for, $100 million. And, by the way, if that's the case, I should also be able to sue the media and the politicians for all the pain and suffering that they put me through on a day-to-day basis. So if they, let's go down this road, then there's a whole lot of people that I could sue for all the bullshit that they put out there that affects my life negatively.
If we only had the money to sue all of these politicians ruining our lives. Yeah, that's crazy what happened. But again, the timing, think about it. All of these people in different areas of life, whether it's Alex Jones in the information war, Peter Schiff in the fight for helping people fight for their economic freedom, whether it's Trump getting raided. I wanted to ask you about that on the other side of the break, or Imran Khan out in Pakistan, who seemed to be working for the best interests of his country. The leaders, I think, of his party were just arrested. There were rumors that the government was going to arrest Imran Khan this week. So you just see the timing globally. The global deep state is going for anyone defending sovereignty, individual sovereignty or national sovereignty. What's been your reaction to the FBI raid of Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence?
It's so hard for me to know. I think all this stuff with this, especially surrounding Trump and Biden and all this, I don't know what's real or not. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, they say that they were, rummaging through Mar-a-Lago, the FBI, because they were looking for some specific documents that he had taken out. I mean, people take all kinds of things. I mean, I know that the Clintons supposedly stole a bunch of, plates and other silverware or something, or there's all kinds of things that people take out of there. The United States government has billions and billions of so-called classified documents, so I don't know what documents that they're actually talking about. I don't know what to make of it, and I think a lot of the stuff surrounding Trump in general is kind of a circus. Maybe in 2016, even going on to when he first got elected. Thought it was pretty exciting, pretty interesting, see what was going to happen. But by this point, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just, Trump was just a psyop from the beginning, and all this is just a distraction and a circus to have everybody run around, try to get conservatives all upset about, they're supposedly. It's not the same country. They're overturning the rule of law and the sovereignty and all this type of stuff. And if you know anything about the history of the United States, I mean, it's been in trouble for a long time. So the whole idea that like everything was just great and the rule of law was upheld and everybody's all the elections were completely up to par and all this type of stuff up until recently is just it's not true. And I think that all kinds of crooked stuff happens within politics. This could be something that they're actually going to come after Trump. I mean, they definitely are trying to throw everything they can at him. It's amazing how much the Democrats are just I don't know what it is about Trump. I mean, I understand the whole mean tweets thing and triggering them, but there's got to be something more than that, and more than just the fact that he didn't want to ramp up all the wars that they wanted to, which I think was a big reason that a lot of the military-industrial complex didn't like him and the neocons and stuff. But I don't know. They just like really want to get him and anybody associated with him, and they are like really determined to just basically, get them out of here. And like I said, even his followers, I don't know what their problem is, but they just, all the people that you see locked up from January 6th and all this type of stuff. It's like Democrats are really bloodthirsty, crazy.
I think it's both of what you said, that I think what the FBI doing is not justified and totalitarian to Trump. So I think, what they're doing with that 87,000 new IRS hires, they're going after Trump, Alex Jones, yada, yada. But at the same time, I'm kind of a believer that Trump is some sort of part of some sort of deep state sort of psyop, as you said, project. Mm-hmm. And so it's like both I feel are true. And as the years go on, will become clearer if certain events play out the way that some of us think they might. And just to get back,
yeah,
to
I mean, I'm
America.
just not.
Go ahead.
It seems like they're trying to block. I mean, obviously they want to block him from running in 2024, right? That seems to be the overarching narrative, that they're doing all this to stop him, and I get it, but I mean, say that he won. I mean, what, so what? I don't know. Like what was it? What was it that was so great that Trump did, of his platform that he said he was going to do in 2016? I mean, what was it? That didn't seem like anything at all. He had a lot of pretty good rhetoric to start out with, a lot of really bad
Operation Warp Speed. Come on, Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah, that was it
vaccine.
to me.
He gave us the sacred, the holy
absolutely.
vaccine.
Yeah. And that was really, like, to me, I mean, there was a lot of things that were kind of, he just shot himself in the foot, and then he was just going on and on. He wouldn't stop talking about his great vaccine, and pretty much he saved the world because of his great vaccine and all this. And it's I don't know. It's really strange. And I don't even know what, I have no trust in him or he put in absolutely horrible people as far as his cabinet. I think he did a bad job. He blew it. He dropped the ball, and I don't see why he deserves another chance. And that doesn't put us in a very good position because I don't know, if there's anybody else that's any good either. So yeah, it's fucked.
Yes, and to get back to Latin America for a second, I was noticing that Mexico's inflation hits 21-year high, and Chile's inflation hits highest level since March 1994. That's quick. Let's do the math. That's 28-year high for Chile. So again, if you just extrapolate, you can see this trend now. Mexico, Chile, other countries, inflation is really doing damage, no?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've talked a few times. I was thinking we've talked a few times about the gentrification, all these articles that are coming out talking about gentrification in Mexico from Americans, Canadians that are coming down to live in Mexico. I mean, and let's be honest, a lot of the people that come down, it's because of inflation. They can't afford to live a decent life in up north, right? And so they come where it's cheaper and they can still operate at their salary and live a decent life and not live in a shoebox or under a bridge or something. So they're able to go. A lot more people are able to go remote these days. And it's kind of funny because, the whole kind of narrative is that, they come down here and they're rich and they can pay a lot of money. I mean, maybe some of them, especially if they're dual income, no kids and that type of thing. But for the most part, digital nomads are not rich. They come down to Latin America because they don't have a lot of money and they just rent a 1-bedroom apartment. Maybe they pay a little bit more than, a local construction worker or something. But I wouldn't say that they're rich. There's a lot more rich people all throughout Mexico than the digital nomads. But anyways, as far as the inflation goes, I mean, I think this is an inflationary effect because of prices getting out of control, rents, especially in California. Then they come down to Mexico, and then remember, as we've shown, we also have inflation here in Mexico, so that means prices rise. And what can they? Well, that's the gringos' fault, right? So people always need a scapegoat for inflation. That's why it's so insidious, is because the government can print money, the government can give money to their friends. And who pays for it is us in the long run through rising prices. And then they just blame it on somebody else. They'll blame it on the Ukraine. They'll blame it on, gringos that are coming down to Mexico, and they'll blame it on a virus, or they blame it on all kinds of things. But it's just because they print a bunch of money and gave it to, weapons contractors and pharmaceutical companies and all their buddies in Wall Street or whatever. And so, yeah, I think that just thinking of another angle as far as the gentrification, quote unquote, thing that's been that they've been writing about so much, tons and tons of articles and podcasts just in the last few weeks about Americans coming down here. I think it's probably also mainly driven by inflation as well.
I think it's also to dissuade Americans from escaping.
Oh yeah.
The U.S. A lot of this is it's propaganda, so they don't want them. They want them staying put, as Ron Paul, used to say that the border wall is not to keep Mexicans out, it's to keep Americans in. And more, like I was having this conversation with this expat today, and it's just becoming more evident that they don't want Americans. I'm sure it's maybe a similar case with other countries, but certain other countries, but they don't want them leaving. Like you see the banking rules are getting more cumbersome. The issues with passports and just in general, it's just, yeah, it feels like the United States wants to make it harder for Americans to leave. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I pointed that out too, to some friends, it's the idea, it's not been my experience that there's a big, large sentiment of Mexican nationals that are like mad at gringos for coming down. And, in a lot of these reports, there are people that, they're putting up signs that are telling, they're saying like gringo get out. I don't see that at all. I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, maybe there are people that, are like, that don't like the fact that prices are going up and stuff, but they're not like going out and confronting Americans because of that. I mean, as far as most places, especially tourist places in Mexico, I mean, that's what they run their business. That's how they run their businesses. They're used to having foreigners come in there and speak English or whatever. It's not a big deal, but they act like it's, all of a sudden Mexicans are rising up and going to kick out the Americans. I mean, that's not the case. So yeah, I think that maybe it's just overblown trying to scare people.
Yeah, we got real quick. I thought it was funny. Bolsonaro holds first federal government meeting in the metaverse. The Minister of Communications, Fabio Faria, met with President Bolsonaro using VR technology. So I thought that was funny. I didn't really expect that from Bolsonaro, who was resisting on some fronts.
Mr. Manly Man, riding around on a horse and shooting guns, and now he's sitting there, in with the virtual reality headset on. But that's okay. I've put one of those on before, so I can't judge.
Yeah, I tried it out for a while, and it's a no for me. All right, last minute, best place to find you on the internet, James.
Yeah, jamesguzman.com. If you need international health insurance, borderlesshealthinsurance.com. Thanks again for having me on.
It's always great. I don't have health insurance, so that's just how I roll. Raw like that. God is my health insurance. So we'll see what.
Good plan.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the wonderful Mexican food.
Yes.
We'll be right back here after the news break on TNT Radio.